Welcome to Talks with Dr. Gupta and friends. If you opened your laptop this morning, you probably felt it, a strange dissonance. On one screen, the S&P 500 is flashing green. Your inbox is full. Deadlines are real. Corporate earnings look fantastic. But outside the window, the geopolitical order feels like it's shredding itself in real time. This is the split-screen economy. On one side, record valuations, breathtaking AI breakthroughs, historic capital investment. On the other, trade wars, territorial pressure, alliance fractures, and a job market that feels frozen in carbonite. That's exactly why we're doing today's briefing. We're not skimming headlines. We've synthesized 7 major reports, from labor data to deep geopolitical analyses on Greenland, Venezuela, and Iran, to build a true 360-degree view of the system. Because you have to connect the dots. You need to understand why your company can hit record revenue and still refuse to approve a single new hire, and how that decision somehow connects to a standoff in the Arctic Circle. It's all part of the same ecosystem of risk and leverage. Let's start with the most immediate pain point for professionals listening: the job market. We've been promised a soft landing for 2 years. But if you look at this week's data, soft isn't the word. Economists are now calling it the Great Freeze. Here's the paradox. In past recessions, pain showed up as layoffs, mass firings, spiking unemployment. That isn't happening. Unemployment is holding around 4.6%. But here's the catch. No one's getting fired, and no one's getting hired. Companies are engaging in what the report calls employee hugging. It sounds warm. It's not. It's corporate trauma. After the wage spirals and talent wars of 2021-22, firms are hoarding labor, holding on to staff even when there isn't enough work, just to avoid future recruitment costs. The result? If you're trying to enter the market, switch careers, or move up, the door isn't just closed, it's welded shut. Job gains in 2026 are projected to average under 50,000 a month, microscopic for an economy this size. And this is not evenly distributed. Healthcare and government contracting are fine, but this is a white-collar recession. Tech, consulting, strategy, marketing, the professional managerial class, precisely the group most sensitive to interest rates and trade uncertainty. So here's the disconnect. If white-collar workers are frozen out, why is GDP growth being upgraded to 2.2%? Who's spending? 2 engines. First, the top 20%. Asset owners. Stocks, property, equity. Their net worth is exploding, and they're spending enough to mask everyone else's pullback. Second, capital expenditure. AI. Data centers. Energy grids. Chips. Hundreds of billions in investment that boosts GDP on paper, but puts no cash in the pocket of a mid-level marketing manager. This is a top-heavy recovery. And it's fragile. That 2.2% forecast was finalized before the White House escalated tariff threats against Europe. Factor in a universal 10% tariff, and that growth can evaporate overnight. Now we come to the technological accelerant. This week, Anthropic released Claude Code, and we need to be precise. This is not a chatbot. It's not a co-pilot. It's an autonomous agent. Claude Code lives inside the terminal. It accesses files, writes code, runs tests, fixes its own bugs, commits to Git. Tasks that once took engineers days, it can now one-shot. This has given rise to what people are calling vibe coding. It sounds like a meme. It isn't. You no longer need to write code. You describe the outcome. The agent handles architecture, syntax, deployment. Software engineers are shifting from builders to orchestrators. If you're senior, this is leverage. You can do the work of 10 people. If you're junior, your value proposition just collapsed. Why hire 3 juniors when 1 senior can spin up 3 AI agents for pennies? This technology doesn't cause the hiring freeze, it justifies it. Agents don't run on air, they run on compute, which brings us to Arizona. This week's TSMC deal may be bigger than the AI news itself. The US has agreed to cap tariffs on Taiwanese goods at 15%. In return, Taiwan commits $250 billion to build a semiconductor empire in the American Southwest. This isn't a factory. It's a nation-state level investment. TSMC is expanding from 3 fabs to potentially 11, fast-tracking 2nm and 3nm production by 2027. This isn't about Apple or Nvidia demand. It's insurance. An economy powered by AI agents cannot rely on chips arriving by boat from a potentially blockaded island. And for Taiwan, embedding itself this deeply into the US economy makes abandonment impossible. A silicon shield on American soil. Resource wars return. But while chips are being secured, the scramble for raw materials is turning aggressive. Greenland is now a full-blown NATO crisis. The US is threatening 10% tariffs on European allies if Denmark doesn't negotiate over Greenland. Officially, it's about Arctic missile defense. In reality, rare earths, dysprosium, neodymium, terbium, the minerals that power EVs, fighter jets, and those TSMC chips. China dominates processing today. The US wants out, and it's willing to fracture NATO to get there. European troops are deploying to Greenland. NATO members facing off against the United States. This is 19th century resource politics under a 21st century flag. The same desperation shows up in Venezuela. The US wants Exxon and Chevron to invest $100 billion to revive oil production and flood global supply. The companies refuse. The infrastructure is decayed. Legal risk is extreme. They need $80 oil to break even. The state wants cheap energy. The market says no. Meanwhile, Europe pivots. After 25 years, the EU signs the Mercosur deal, cutting tariffs on 90% of goods with South America. Farmers riot. Leaders push it through anyway. Europe sees the US market closing. They diversify or die. And then there's Iran. An enforced calm. Thousands killed. Tens of thousands arrested. Hyperinflation. Currency collapse. A pressure cooker with the lid welded shut. If it blows or lashes out externally, the Strait of Hormuz closes, oil spikes, inflation returns, and the soft landing dies. So what ties all of this together? One word: leverage. Workers lose leverage to AI agents. Job seekers lose leverage to labor-hoarding firms. Denmark loses leverage to military power. Europe searches for leverage in South America. Capital decouples from labor. The era of growing the pie together is over. This is the era of securing your slice. If there's advice for 2026, it's this: own the asset. Control the agent. Orchestrate the system. Don't rely solely on salary. Look for equity, leverage compounds. Wages don't. Because the passive path, the idea that steady work guarantees stability, that social contract is breaking. And we haven't yet decided what replaces it. On that note, keep your eyes on the data, not just the headlines. Thanks for listening to The Deep Dive. Stay sharp. We'll see you next time. Happy new thinking.